The stars shone bright against the endless black of space. Among them, the research vessel Horizon moved steadily on its course. Captain Thomas Reeves stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing the uncharted space ahead. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for only 15 years. His mission was simple: show the older alien races that humans came in peace. "Status report," Reed said, his voice calm and steady. "All systems normal, Captain," Officer Lisa Jones replied from her station. "The live broadcast of Earth is running smoothly. We have about 3 billion viewers right now." Reed nodded with satisfaction. The Horizon carried 50,000 of humanity's brightest minds, scientists, diplomats, and crew members. Their journey was being shown live across all human colonies and back to Earth. It was a goodwill mission meant to build trust. "We're approaching the outer boundary," said Navigation Officer Mike Wilson. "This area is technically disputed territory." Reed frowned slightly. "The Council approved our route. We have permission to be here." "Yes, sir. Just noting it for the record." In the science lab, Dr. Alan Brown was speaking directly to the broadcast. He held up a strange plant sample they had collected from the last planet they visited. "This species shows remarkable adaptive properties," he explained to the billions watching. "It could help us grow food in harsh environments back home." Throughout the massive ship, crew members went about their duties. Some waved at the hovering camera drones that sent their images across the galaxy. The mood was light. They were making history, showing how humans could add value to the galactic community. In his private quarters, Captain Reed recorded his personal log. "Day 341 of our expedition. Morale is high. I believe we're finally breaking through some of the distrust the older species have toward us. They called us unpredictable and dangerously adaptive when we first joined. This mission is proving we can be trusted partners." He paused, looking at a photo of his family back on Earth. "We're making a difference," he added softly. On the bridge, the alarm suddenly blared. "Captain, to the bridge." The voice over the intercom was tense, urgent. Reed rushed from his quarters. When the doors slid open, he saw the crew staring at the viewscreen with wide eyes. A massive warship had appeared seemingly from nowhere. Its design was unmistakable: Vex Imperium. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Jamie Parker. "On screen," Reed ordered, straightening his uniform. The screen showed a Vex commander, tall, with gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The Vex were known for keeping to themselves. They rarely engaged with the Council. "Human vessel," the Vex said, its voice translated through the ship's computer. "You have violated Imperium space." Reed stepped forward. "Vex vessel, we are on a Council-approved scientific mission. Our path was cleared with all local authorities. We come in peace." The Vex commander's upper eyes narrowed. "Peace," it repeated. The word sounded like a curse. "You humans always claim peace while you spread across the stars like a disease." "Sir," whispered Officer Jones, "they're powering weapons." Reed kept his voice steady. "We are broadcasting live to Earth. 3 billion people are watching this exchange. I ask you to resolve any territorial concerns through proper channels." The Vex commander leaned closer to the screen. "We know about your broadcast, Captain. That is precisely why we are here." Reed felt a chill run through him. This wasn't a chance encounter. "Shields up. Evasive maneuvers," he shouted. The Horizon lurched as Wilson tried to turn the massive research vessel. They weren't built for speed or combat. The first blast from the Vex ship hit them hard, making the lights flicker. "Broadcast a distress signal to the Council," Reed ordered, "and keep our transmission to Earth running." Across the galaxy, billions of humans watched in horror as the attack unfolded. Parents covered their children's eyes. Officials stared in disbelief at their screens. The Horizon fought back with its minimal defensive capabilities, but it was no match for a Vex warship. Sections of the ship began to break apart. Crew members scrambled for escape pods, but the Vex targeted those too. In his final moments, Captain Reed grabbed the broadcast camera. His face, cut and bleeding, filled screens across human space. "Remember us," he said, his voice steady despite everything. "We came in peace." The explosion that followed was bright enough to make viewers look away. When they looked back, there was nothing but debris where the Horizon had been. 50,000 lives, extinguished in an instant. And 3 billion witnesses. Silence fell across Earth. For 3 days after the destruction of the Horizon the planet mourned. Public screens that normally showed advertisements now displayed the names of the 50,000 lost souls. Flowers piled up outside Space Command headquarters. Children drew pictures of stars and ships, leaving them at makeshift memorials. Admiral James Walker stood by the window in his office, looking at the crowds below. His reflection showed a man with tired eyes and a face aged by grief. Captain Reed had been his student, his friend. "They're still coming," said his aide, pointing to the crowds. "People have been standing in line for hours just to leave a candle." Walker nodded. "And the council? Any response yet?" "They've called an emergency meeting, sir. It starts in 1 hour." Inside the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from 27 species sat in rising tiers. The human chair, usually occupied by Ambassador Helen Grant, sat empty, a silent protest. Instead, Admiral Walker entered alone. He wore his full uniform, medals gleaming under the lights. Without speaking, he activated a device. The final moments of the Horizon played above the council floor. Captain Reed's last words echoed. "Remember us. We came in peace." Walker finally spoke. 50,000 humans, scientists, doctors, parents, children, murdered while you watched. The council leader, a tall being with translucent skin named Traz, raised his hand. "The Galactic Council expresses its regrettable concern over this incident." Walker's voice remained controlled, but his hands tightened into fists. "The Vex Imperium claims the Horizon violated their sovereign territory. While their response was excessive, there are protocols. We file our flight plan with this council." Walker interrupted. "You approved our route." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several representatives looked uncomfortable. Traz continued smoothly. "The area in question has been subject to recent territorial disputes. Perhaps there was a miscommunication." Back on Earth, Director Elizabeth Marsh sat in her underground office at Earth Intelligence. Screens surrounded her, showing data streams and intercepted communications. Her team worked silently, faces illuminated by blue light. "Director," called one of her analysts. "You need to see this." Marsh moved to his station. On his screen was a decoded message, intercepted 3 days before the attack. "Is this verified?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Triple-checked. The Vex informed 7 council members of their intentions. No one warned us." Marsh's face hardened. "Keep digging. I want every communication between the Vex and council members for the past year." At the council meeting, a reptilian representative named Dex spoke up. "Humans are still new to galactic society. Perhaps you do not understand our ways. Territorial enforcement is sometimes necessary for maintaining order." Walker looked at each council member slowly. "We understand perfectly. Your silence makes you complicit." Back in his quarters after the meeting, Walker received an encrypted communication from Director Marsh. Her face on the screen was grim. "This wasn't random, James. They waited until the broadcast reached peak viewership. 3 billion humans watching. That was the point." Walker sat heavily in his chair. "They wanted an audience." "It gets worse," Marsh continued. 7 council members knew it was coming. They let it happen. She sent him the decoded messages. "Why?" Walker whispered, though he feared he already knew. "Fear," Marsh replied simply. "Our colonies are expanding faster than predicted. Our technology is advancing too quickly for their comfort. The Horizon wasn't just a target, it was a message. Walker's eyes narrowed. They think they can scare us into submission. The question is, what are we going to do about it? 3 days after the attack, the United Earth Summit convened. For the first time, representatives from every human nation gathered in one room. Old enemies sat side by side, united by shared grief and anger. The UE president stood at the center. We have always been a divided species. Today we are one. The question before us is simple. How does humanity respond? Arguments filled the room. Some called for immediate military action. Others urged caution, diplomatic solutions. Admiral Walker stepped forward. The Vex and their council allies expect us to react in one of two ways. Either we attack in anger and justify their fear of us, or we cower and confirm their belief in our weakness. He paused, looking around the room. I propose a third option. An operation that will bring the guilty to justice without starting a galactic war. Director Marsh stepped up beside him. They used our openness against us, made an example of our people while the galaxy watched. Walker nodded. Now we show them who humans really are. Across Earth and her colonies, a single phrase began to spread. Remember the 50,000. No one yet knew what form humanity's response would take, but one thing was certain. It was coming. The United Earth Summit entered its second day. Outside, crowds gathered under a sky filled with rain clouds. They stood silent, waiting. Inside, Admiral Walker prepared to present his plan. Operation Memento, he said, activating the room's holographic display. A complex diagram appeared, showing timelines, resources, and objectives. Not Operation Vengeance, asked General Smith, an older man with hard eyes. They killed our people. We should hit back harder. Walker shook his head. If we respond with all-out war, we play into their hands. The Vex want to prove humans are dangerous. We need to be smarter. Director Marsh stepped forward. Our intelligence shows the Vex expected one of two responses. Either we attack and confirm their claims that we're violent, or we back down and show weakness. So what does Operation Memento do differently? Asked the UE president. Walker moved through the hologram, expanding sections as he spoke. We respond in 3 phases. First, we appear to withdraw from galactic affairs. Let them think they've won. The hologram showed human ships returning to Earth space, diplomatic missions closing. Meanwhile, Marsh continued, we gather evidence of the conspiracy. The council members who knew about the attack, the real reason behind it, all of it. And then, asked someone from the back. Walker's face hardened. Then we used their own methods against them. The Vex killed our people while the galaxy watched. We exposed their crimes the same way. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This won't be easy, Walker admitted. We'll need new technology, covert operations, and most importantly, patience. The debate that followed was heated but focused. Questions about resources, risks, and outcomes came from all sides. Walker and Marsh answered each one. As evening approached, the UE president called for a vote. For the first time in human history, the decision was unanimous. Operation Memento would begin immediately. The next morning, humanity's public response shocked the galaxy. Instead of threats or military action, Earth announced a period of mourning. Human ships began returning to Earth space. Diplomatic missions scaled back. To the watching galaxy, it appeared that humans had been successfully cowed. In a private meeting with the Galactic Council, Ambassador Grant spoke with downcast eyes. Earth needs time to heal. We will be reducing our presence in Council space for the foreseeable future. The Council members exchanged looks of satisfaction. The Vex representative wasn't present, but several of those who had known about the attack nodded with approval. A wise decision, said Traz. Perhaps when emotions have settled, we can discuss proper territorial protocols. Grant bowed her head, appearing submissive. Only someone who knew her well would notice the cold determination in her eyes. Behind closed doors, Operation Memento was already in motion. In a secret facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Anna Miller worked with a team of engineers. Her brother had been the head botanist on the Horizon *. Now she channeled her grief into her work. The VEX communication systems use quantum encryption, she explained to Admiral Walker during his inspection. We've been trying to crack it for years without success. And now? He asked. She smiled grimly. Now we have motivation. Look. She activated a test system. On the screen, VEX symbols flowed, then transformed into human text. You broke their encryption. Better, Miller replied. We can now slip past it undetected. They won't even know we're listening. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Robert Davis assembled his team. 12 men and women, the best at what they did. They gathered in a windowless room at Space Command. Your missions will be dangerous, he told them. Some of you might not come back, but what we're doing matters. On a screen behind him appeared photos of the Horizon's crew. 50,000 people. Remember them. They're counting on us. Across Earth, similar scenes played out. Old military bases reopened under civilian covers. Research projects that had been theoretical suddenly received unlimited funding. The orbital shipyards, officially closed to appease the Council, worked at double capacity behind sophisticated cloaking systems. To the galaxy, humanity appeared to be licking its wounds. In reality, it was sharpening its claws. 1 week after the attack, Admiral Walker stood on the observation deck of his flagship, now hidden in the shadow of Jupiter. Earth glowed as a distant blue dot. It begins, he said softly. Director Marsh, standing beside him, nodded. The VEX wanted to send a message. They'll soon learn that humanity sends messages of its own. Across the stars, oblivious to what was coming, those who had orchestrated the attack continued their lives, believing they had successfully put humans in their place. They had 6 months of that comfort left. 2 months after the destruction of the Horizon *, the galaxy had largely moved on. Human ships stayed close to Earth. Human diplomats spoke softly in council meetings. To outside eyes, humanity had accepted its place. Dr. Anna Miller hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night since her brother died on the Horizon *. Her lab, hidden deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, hummed with activity even at 3 a.m. Test sequence complete, announced her computer. Infiltration successful. Anna pushed her hair from her face and smiled. On her screen, she could see VEX military communications flowing like water. The aliens had no idea their unbreakable encryption had just been shattered. Send a message to Admiral Walker, she told her assistant. Tell him Phase 1 is complete. Across the solar system, disguised as a mining operation on Europa. Admiral Walker's command center received the news. Dr. Miller has done it, his aide reported. We can now access all VEX communications undetected. Walker nodded, studying the large display showing human assets throughout Council space. Small dots of light, each representing an operative or a hidden ship, formed a web across the galaxy. And Lieutenant Davis's team. In position, sir. They've established covers on 7 key worlds. The Council still believes we've withdrawn most of our people. Walker allowed himself a small smile. And our fleet status. A young officer stepped forward. The modifications are at 60%, Admiral. All ships are being fitted with the new shield technology and weapon systems. To any observers, it looks like routine maintenance. In a dusty bar on Centauri Prime, a major trading hub, Lieutenant Robert Davis sat nursing a drink. He wore the clothes of a common merchant, nothing like his military uniform. Next to him sat Officer Jamie Parker, one of the few survivors of the Horizon *. She had been on leave when the ship departed on its final mission. The VEX representative comes here every cycle, she whispered. He likes the drinks and the gambling. Davis nodded slightly. You're sure you want to do this? You knew those people. Parker's eyes hardened. That's why it has to be me. I can get close without raising suspicion. Just plant the device. Nothing more. An hour later, a tall Vex entered the bar. His 4 eyes scanned the room before he settled at his usual table. Parker approached with drinks, playing the role of server. As she set down his glass, her hand brushed his coat, leaving behind a device smaller than a fingernail. Back on Earth, Director Marsh met with the UE president in a garden designed to block all surveillance. The Vex believe we're broken, Marsh reported. Their communications show they're already planning to restrict our colony expansion once we recover from our grief. The president nodded, looking at the flowers, and the council members who knew. 7 species were informed beforehand. 3 actively helped plan it. The others simply stayed silent. All to keep us in our place. Yes, Madam President, they fear our potential. The attack wasn't just about territory. It was about making an example of us before we could become too powerful. The president's eyes narrowed. How much longer before we're ready? 4 more months. Dr. Miller has almost completed the broadcast system. Once Davis's team has gathered all the evidence, we'll be ready for the reversal. In orbit around Mars, hidden shipyards worked day and night. Engineers installed new technology on Earth's defensive fleet. Chief Engineer Bill Jones inspected the latest modifications to the flagship Justice. These were just theoretical designs 3 months ago, he told his team. Now we're installing them on every ship we have. A young engineer looked nervous. Sir, some of these systems haven't been fully tested. The power requirements alone. I know the risks, Jones cut in. But remember what's at stake. The Vex think they've seen what humans can do. We're going to show them they haven't seen anything yet. As the 4th month of preparation ended, Lieutenant Davis sent an encrypted message from deep in Vex territory. We found it. Operation containment confirmed. Evidence secured. Admiral Walker called an emergency meeting with all operation leaders. The room was tense as Davis's findings were displayed. The attack on the Horizon was just the beginning. Walker explained. They plan to stage similar incidents over the next 5 years, each one designed to keep us contained, afraid to expand beyond our current boundaries. Dr. Miller shook her head in disgust. 50,000 lives, just to send a message. And now we send ours, Walker replied. 2 more months. Then the galaxy learns what happens when you mistake human patience for weakness. Across human space, the countdown to the reversal had begun. 5 months after the Horizon massacre, Lieutenant Robert Davis stood before the massive stone building that housed the Galactic Council's archives. He adjusted his uniform, not his human military one, but the gray coveralls of a council maintenance worker. The fake ID card hanging from his neck identified him as Jortek, a member of the Azeri species. The disguise was perfect. The Azeri looked almost human except for their golden eyes. Special contacts completed Davis's transformation. Remember, you have exactly 40 minutes, came Dr. Miller's voice through his nearly invisible earpiece. After that, the security system resets. Davis didn't reply. He couldn't risk being overheard. He simply walked through the main entrance, nodding to the guards. Inside, the archives stretched endlessly, filled with data crystals containing millions of council records. Davis moved purposefully to a maintenance panel and began to work. His tools concealed something else, a device of Dr. Miller's design that could copy vast amounts of data in seconds. Meanwhile, on the Vex homeworld, Officer Jamie Parker had infiltrated even deeper. Using her cover as a trade representative from a neutral world, she had gained access to the lower levels of the Vex command center. The tiny device she had planted on the Vex representative months ago had mapped out the entire security system. The main server room is 2 levels down, whispered her partner, Agent Mark Thompson. He was disguised as her assistant. Guards change in 3 minutes. Parker nodded, her face calm though her heart raced. She had joined this mission for one reason, to honor her friends who died on the Horizon asterisk. If she was caught here, her death would be slow and painful. When the guards moved, Parker and Thompson slipped down the corridor. Using access codes stolen through Miller's encryption breakthrough, they entered the server room, the heart of Vex military planning. "We're in," Thompson whispered into his hidden communicator. Back on Earth, Dr. Miller sat in her command center, surrounded by screens. "Copying their files now," she replied. "Hold position." On her main screen, data began to flow. The evidence they needed was finally within reach. In the Council archives, Davis had accessed the secure section. Here, the most sensitive Council records were kept, the ones never meant to be seen by outsider eyes. He moved between the towering data stacks, following directions from memory. Section 12, Row 7, Terminal 3. He plugged in Miller's device and waited. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the progress bar slowly filled. 30%, 45%, 60%. A sound made him turn. Footsteps approached. "Security sweep in your sector," Miller warned in his ear. "Hide. Now." Davis unplugged the device. It had reached 85% and slipped between the data stacks. A guard passed just meters away, scanning the area with a handheld device. On the Vex homeworld, Parker and Thompson weren't as lucky. "Someone's coming," Thompson hissed. "The door is opening." Parker looked around desperately. There was nowhere to hide in the small server room. She made a split-second decision. "Keep copying the data," she whispered. "I'll handle this." When the door opened, a Vex technician found Parker leaning against a wall, looking ill. "I'm so sorry," she said in the trade language. "I got lost looking for a refreshment station. The air in this building makes me dizzy." The technician's 4 eyes narrowed suspiciously. "This area is restricted." "Is it? Oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed." Parker put on her best confused tourist act, all while keeping herself between the technician and Thompson, who continued the download behind a server bank. In the Council archives, Davis waited until the guard passed, then reconnected his device. The last 15% seemed to take forever. Finally, a soft beep signaled completion. He packed up and walked out, passing the guards with a casual nod. Only when he was 3 blocks away did he allow himself to breathe normally. "Package secured," he whispered. On the Vex homeworld, Parker had successfully talked her way out, bringing the confused technician with her into the corridor, while Thompson completed the download. "Data secured," Thompson reported once they regrouped safely in their lodgings. "Sending to Miller now." In her lab, Dr. Miller watched as both datasets arrived. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, combining and decrypting the information. Her eyes widened as she read. "Admiral," she called Walker immediately. "We have it all. Operation containment, Council involvement, everything." The files revealed the truth. The Vex and 3 major Council species had created a secret agreement called the Containment Protocol. They had identified humanity's rapid advancement as a threat to the established galactic order. The Horizon massacre was labeled First Warning, with 2 more warnings planned if humans continued to expand. They were going to kill thousands more, Miller said, her voice shaking, "just to keep us in our place." Walker's face was grim on the screen. "How soon can you prepare the broadcast?" 4 weeks. We need to package everything, make it accessible to all species. Then in 4 weeks, the galaxy learns the truth. Walker's eyes were hard. And a month after that, we launched the reversal. 6 months to the day after the Horizon massacre, the Galactic Council gathered for a special session. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from all 27 member species. The Vex delegation sat proudly near the front, their 4 eyes scanning the room with confidence. The human section was nearly empty. Only Ambassador Helen Grant attended, sitting quietly in her assigned place. The other council members barely glanced her way. To them, Humanity had been properly put in its place. Council leader Traz called the meeting to order. Today marks 6 standard cycles since the unfortunate incident involving the human vessel Horizon *, he announced. We will now formally close the investigation. Grant made no objection. Some council members exchanged satisfied looks. The official record will show that the vessel violated recognized Vex territory, Traz continued. While the response was perhaps excessive, the matter is now considered resolved. The Vex representative, General Korvax, nodded with approval. His species had achieved their goal. The humans had withdrawn to their small corner of the galaxy, their expansion halted by fear. As Traz prepared to move to the next agenda item, Ambassador Grant finally spoke. If I may, Council Leader. Traz seemed annoyed by the interruption, but nodded. The human representative may speak briefly. Grant stood, her face calm. 6 months ago, 50,000 of my people were killed while billions watched. Today, I wish to share something with the Council. She touched a small device on her wrist. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, throughout the chamber, every communication screen flickered. What is happening? Traz demanded. Security, check the systems. But it wasn't just in the Council chamber. Across every world in Council space, on every ship, in every home and public place with a communication device, screens changed simultaneously. Dr. Anna Miller watched from her lab on Earth, her finger hovering over the broadcast button. For my brother, she whispered as she activated the final sequence. The galaxy-wide broadcast began with Captain Reed's face. His final words from the Horizon *. Remember us. We came in peace. Then the evidence appeared. Council communications. Vex military orders. The full Operation Containment Protocol, with all its cold calculations about acceptable human casualties. The images were interspersed with personal stories of the Horizon's * crew. Their lives, families, dreams. A scientist who had been developing crops to end hunger. A doctor who had volunteered in disaster zones. Children who had been aboard for an educational program. In the Council chamber, chaos erupted. Several representatives jumped to their feet, shouting denials. The Vex delegation tried to leave, but the doors had been sealed. This is human trickery, General Korvax shouted. Ambassador Grant remained standing, her voice cutting through the noise. Every file is authentic. Your own security codes verify it. Across the galaxy, citizens of all species watched in horror as the truth unfolded. The deliberate targeting of a civilian research vessel. The planned future attacks. The Council's complicity. On planets where the accused species held power, public squares filled with protesters. Ships from neutral worlds began moving away from Vex territory. The galactic communication networks overloaded with messages of outrage. Admiral Walker sat on the bridge of his flagship, the Justice *, watching the broadcast with his crew. Begin Phase 2, he ordered quietly. Throughout Council space, hidden human ships suddenly decloaked. They appeared not in attack formation, but in defensive positions around key Council worlds, including those belonging to the species who had plotted against humanity. The message was clear. We could strike, but we choose not to. In the Council chamber, screens showed the sudden appearance of the human fleet. Modern, powerful ships that had been disguised or hidden for 6 months, now revealed in a stunning display of strength. What is the meaning of this? Traz demanded, his translucent skin paling further. Grant's voice was steady. 6 months ago, you expected us to either attack in blind rage or cower in fear. We did neither. We gathered evidence. We prepared. And now we demand justice. The broadcast continued for 1 full standard hour. By the time it ended, the political landscape of the galaxy had changed forever. On worlds across Council space, citizens turned against their own governments, demanding answers. The species who had remained silent despite knowing of the attack faced internal rebellions. The Vex found themselves suddenly isolated, their allies abandoning them one by one. In the council chamber, Ambassador Grant finally delivered humanity's official statement. We do not seek war. We seek justice. The guilty will face trial before a multi-species tribunal. The council will be reformed, and humanity will take its rightful place among the stars. The reversal was complete. Now came the reckoning. 1 month after the reversal, the galaxy was forever changed. The old Galactic Council had collapsed under the weight of the truth. In its place stood the new Galactic Concord, with humanity playing a central role in its creation. Admiral Walker stood at the window of the new Concord headquarters, watching ships from a dozen worlds move through the busy space lanes. Behind him, representatives from 15 species worked together to draft the Concord's founding charter. This wasn't what I expected, he admitted to Director Marsh, who stood beside him. I thought we'd face more resistance. Marsh nodded. The Vex miscalculated. They thought other species feared us. Instead, many were just waiting for someone to challenge the old order. On the Vex homeworld, change had come swiftly and unexpectedly. Their military government, so confident in its power just weeks ago, now faced rebellion from within. Ordinary Vex citizens, horrified by the truth of the Horizon massacre, had taken to the streets. General Korvax and his top commanders had been arrested by their own people. Now they waited in detention cells for their trial before the multi-species tribunal. Did you ever expect this outcome? Asked Lieutenant Davis as he and Officer Parker watched the news broadcasts from a cafe on Earth. Parker shook her head. I joined the mission wanting revenge. I wanted the Vex to suffer like my friends on the Horizon suffered. She looked down at her coffee. But this is better. Justice without more bloodshed. The Galactic Tribunal convened in a neutral space station. Representatives from 20 species served as judges, including humans and Vex civilians. The evidence was presented again, this time in a formal legal setting. General Korvax stood before the tribunal, his 4 eyes downcast. We believed we were protecting the established order, he said. Humans advanced too quickly, adapted too readily. We feared what they might become. The head judge, a respected elder from a species known for their fairness, leaned forward. So you ordered the death of 50,000 civilians to send a message? Yes, Korvax admitted. We believed it necessary. Council leader Traz and 6 other former council members also stood trial. Some denied knowledge. Others claimed they had been forced to comply. But the evidence spoke for itself. In her lab on Earth, Dr. Anna Miller watched the proceedings with mixed feelings. The justice she had worked for was happening, yet her brother would never return. What will you do now? Admiral Walker asked during a visit to her lab. Miller looked at her latest project, a communication system that could connect the furthest human colonies instantly. Keep building, she said simply. That's what my brother would have wanted. 1 year after the attack, Earth held a memorial service for the Horizon's crew. At the center of the new memorial park stood a monument, a perfect replica of the research vessel, cast in gleaming metal. Around its base, the names of all 50,000 crew members were engraved. The UE president addressed the gathered crowd and the billions watching across human space. 1 year ago, we faced a moment that could have defined humanity's future. We could have chosen isolation out of fear. We could have chosen blind vengeance out of anger. Instead, we chose justice with wisdom. She gestured to the monument. These 50,000 souls went into the stars carrying the best of humanity. Our curiosity, our desire to connect, our peaceful intentions. Their killers believed these qualities made us weak. Instead, these same qualities guided our response and made us strong. Admiral Walker stepped forward to unveil a plaque at the monument's base. Captain Reed's final words were inscribed there. Remember us. We came in peace. Below it, a new line had been added. And in our memory, peace prevailed through justice, not revenge. As the ceremony concluded, news arrived from the Concord. The proposal for expanded human colonies had been approved unanimously. The path to the stars, which the Vex had tried to close, now opened wider than ever before. In orbit above Earth, the New Horizon prepared for its maiden voyage. Larger than its predecessor, the research vessel carried scientists from 12 species, including reformed elements of Vex society. Its mission was to explore beyond known space, carrying forward the legacy of those who had been lost. Director Marsh joined Admiral Walker as they watched the ship depart. "They thought they knew us," Walker said quietly. "They thought they could predict how humans would react." Marsh nodded. "That was their mistake." "And our strength," Walker finished. The New Horizon activated its engines, moving away from Earth toward distant stars. On its hull, 50,000 small lights glowed, one for each life lost, now lighting the way forward.